I have never said this out loud before. Not to my pastor, not to my closest friend, not even to myself, not fully, not in the way that it deserves to be said, but I am saying it now because I think someone out there needs to hear it. Maybe that someone is you.
Because sometimes the story that change us are not the loud ones. They are the quiet ones we recognize too well.
This is not a story about a villain. It is not a story about a hero either. It is a story about a woman who gave everything she had to the people she loved most, and the morning she woke up and realized that those same people had been quietly, carefully taking her apart. Her name is Rutendo, and I want you to remember that name because by the time I finish telling you this, you will not forget it easily.
Not because she is extraordinary, but because she is familiar.
Rutendo grew up in Gweru, not the busy, noisy parts, the quieter side, where the roads are dusty and the houses are close together and everybody knows everybody's business before they know it themselves. She was the first child of 5. Her mother, Mainini Chido, was a woman who laughed loudly and worked quietly. Her father, Baba Farai, was a good man in most ways, gentle, soft-spoken, the kind of man who fixed things around the house without being asked. They were not rich, but they were not suffering either. They were the kind of family that had enough food, enough laughter, enough love to make a child feel safe. Rutendo was 17 when that safety disappeared. Her father died suddenly, heart attack, a Tuesday evening, just like that. One moment he was sitting outside on his chair, the way he always did after work. The next moment he was on the ground and the neighbors were shouting and someone was running for help that came too late. Her mother did not recover from it. Not truly. She went back to work. She was a tailor, but the light in her eyes changed. She became someone who was always tired, always a little somewhere else, even when she was right there in front of you. And Rutendo, without anyone asking her to, stepped forward. That is the kind of person she was. She did not wait to be told. She just saw what needed doing and she did it. She was in Form 4 at the time, top of her class. Her teacher, Sekuru Matigemu, had already told her mother that Rutendo had a future in accounting, that she was sharp, careful, the kind of student universities look for. Rutendo had even started dreaming quietly about Harare, about a proper office, about becoming someone who could take care of this family in a big way someday. But someday became never. Because her mother's tailoring money was not enough for 5 children, and Rutendo was the only one old enough to do something about it. She left school. She did not make a speech about it. She did not cry in front of anyone. She simply stopped going.
No celebration, no recognition, just a silent decision that will cost her more than anyone realized.
She took the money she had saved from small jobs, helping neighbors, selling her classmates' second-hand books, and she bought fabrics. She taught herself to sew by sitting beside her mother every evening and watching quietly until her fingers understood what her eyes were seeing. Within 6 months, Rutendo had her own small customers. Within a year, she was earning more than her mother. She used every cent on her siblings. Tanatswa, the second born, was 14 then, a boy with big ideas and a bigger appetite. Rutendo paid his school fees without complaining. She bought his uniforms when they became too small. When he started O-level and needed textbooks that cost more than she earned in a week, she sold the small radio she had kept since her father died, the one she used to listen to music on, and she bought the books. Tanatswa did not notice, or if he noticed, he did not say anything. Simbiso, the third born, was 12, a quiet girl who wanted to be a nurse. Rutendo held that dream for her when Simbiso herself forgot it during hard years. She kept paying, kept pushing, kept reminding Simbiso that she was smart enough, capable enough. The two youngest, Tapiwa and Chipo, were still in primary school. Rutendo packed their lunch every morning. She ironed their uniforms. She attended their school meetings because their mother was always too tired, always too deep in grief to sit in a plastic chair and listen to teachers talk. She was not their sister anymore. She was their everything.
And the dangerous thing about becoming everything for everyone is that one day there is nothing left for you.
And she did not mind. She told herself she did not mind. Years passed. Tanatwa finished school and got a job as a building supervisor in Bulawayo. A decent job, steady income. He moved into a room with two friends and started a life. Simbiso trained as a nurse and was eventually posted to a clinic in Masvingo. She sent photos of herself in her uniform. Rutendo printed one of those photos and kept it on her sewing table like a trophy. Tapiwa got a scholarship partly because Rutendo had quietly spoken to a man at the district education office who knew someone and called in a small favor she had earned by sewing his wife's wedding outfit for free. She never told anyone she did that. Chipo was the last. The baby, Rutendo's softest place. She was the one who used to fall asleep on Rutendo's lap during power cuts, the one who called Rutendo my Rutendo as a joke when she was small, because Rutendo felt more like a mother than a sister. Rutendo spent 12 years giving everything away and keeping nothing for herself. She never married not because no one came, but because every time someone came close, something happened. A sibling needed school fees. Her mother fell sick. The landlord raised the rent. Love kept getting pushed to the corner until the men got tired of waiting and walked away. She told herself it was fine. At first, I didn't think it was serious when people asked her if she was okay, and she always said yes too quickly. Looking back now, she should have noticed what was happening to herself. But Rutendo was so used to carrying things that she had forgotten how heavy the load actually was. Before I continue, I want to pause and ask you something. Where are you watching from right now? Drop your country in the comment section. I genuinely want to know who is out there with me tonight. Now, let me tell you where things began to break. Rutendo turned 34 in November. There was no party. She bought herself a small cake from the bakery near her shop, the one with the red icing, and she sat alone and ate 2 slices and packed the rest for a neighbor's children. Her sewing business had been struggling for almost a year. The cost of fabrics had gone up. Customers were spending less. She had started borrowing small amounts just to keep buying materials, nothing dramatic, just enough to stay open. She called Tanatwa first. He picked up. They talked the way you talk to someone when you are both pretending everything is normal. When she finally said she needed some help, just temporarily, just until things picked up, the line went quiet for a moment. Then Tanatwa said he was going through his own things, that he had just paid Lobola, that things were tight. She understood. She told him she understood. She called Simbiso next. Simbiso listened carefully, the way a nurse listens like she is taking notes. Then she said something that Rutendo would think about for a long time after. She said, Rutendo, maybe it is time you found a partner. You can't keep depending on family forever. Rutendo held the phone against her ear and said nothing. Depending on family. Those words from Simbiso. The same Simbiso whose school fees, whose uniforms, whose textbooks, whose dreams Rutendo had carried on her back for years. She did not shout. She was not that kind of woman. She just said, okay, Simbi, take care of yourself, and she put the phone down. She did not call Chipo. She had been saving that call. The way you save something you are afraid might also disappoint you. But Chipo called her 3 days later after someone had told her Rutendo was struggling. And what Chipo said was a thing that finally broke something inside Rutendo that had survived everything else. Chipo said, Sisi, we all have our own lives now. You always knew this day would come. You chose this life. You chose this life? That was when Rutendo sat down on the floor of her small shop, the floor she had swept that morning, the floor she swept every morning before customers came, and she did not get up for a very long time. That was when she understood, truly understood. She had not been raising a family. She had been pouring herself, drop by drop, into people who had already decided that her sacrifice was not a gift. It was just something she did. The floor was cold. She did not remember how long she sat there. It was still light outside when she went down, and when she finally stood up, the shop was in shadow, and somewhere outside, a neighbor's child was calling for their mother. Rutendo brushed off her skirt. She locked the shop. She walked home. She did not eat that night. She did not cry either, not yet. There is a kind of pain that is too heavy for tears at first. It sits inside your chest like a stone that has been there so long you stop noticing it. And then one day someone hits exactly the right spot and suddenly you feel every kilogram of it. That was where Rutendo was. For the next few weeks, she went quiet in a way that worried the people who knew her. Her neighbor, Mbuya's Vobgo, an older woman with grey twists and kind eyes, who had watched Rutendo grow from a teenager into this tired version of herself, started coming to check on her in the evenings. She would knock softly, come in, sit on the chair near the door, and just be there. She did not always say much, but she came. One evening, she brought sadza and vegetables and placed them on Rutendo's small table without asking if she was hungry. She just said, "Eat mwanangu, my child." Rutendo sat down and ate. And somewhere between the first bite and the last, the tears finally came, not loud, not dramatic, just slow and steady, the way rain starts when a long dry season finally breaks. Mbuya's Vobgo did not rush to stop them. She just sat there and let Rutendo cry. When it was over, she said something Rutendo would carry for the rest of her life. She said, "The problem with being strong for everyone is that people forget you are also made of something that can break. They forget because you never let them see it. And that is not their fault only, it is also something you did to yourself." Rutendo wiped her face and looked at this old woman. "So, what do I do now?" she asked. Mbuya's Vobgo looked at her simply. "You start from where you are, not where you wish you had started. Right here, right now."
Simple word, but sometimes simple is exactly what we need when everything else feels broken.
There is a polytechnic in Gweru. Rutendo had walked past it hundreds of times over the years without ever stopping to look at the notice board outside. One morning, almost 2 weeks after that conversation with Mbuya's Vobgo, she stopped. There was a part-time program in fashion design and business management, evening classes, affordable fees. She stood in front of that notice board for a long time. A security guard near the gate finally looked at her and said, "Madam, are you going in or not?" She went in. She enrolled that same week. The first class was on a Thursday evening. She walked in and sat near the back, expecting to feel out of place. She was 34 in a room full of 20-year-olds who had their whole lives ahead of them and did not yet know what it cost to give yours away. But the lecturer, A small, serious woman named Vimbai, who wore glasses and spoke very fast, did not treat Rutendo like she was different. She gave her the same notes, asked her the same questions, moved on. And Rutendo, for the first time in 17 years, was just a student, not a provider, not a mother to siblings who were not her children, not the strong one. Just a woman with a pen and a notebook, trying to learn something new. It felt strange, then it felt good. 3 months into her classes, something happened that she did not expect. Tanatua called, not to apologize, not exactly, but he called in a way that was different from before, quieter. He asked how she was. Actually asked. Not the way you asked when you are waiting for the person to say fine so you can move on. Rutendo answered honestly for the first time. She said she was learning. She said she was tired but okay. She said some days were hard. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I should have helped you. I know. Only 5 words. But coming from Tanatua, a man who had spent years avoiding anything uncomfortable, those 5 words cost him something. Rutendo could feel that. She did not flood the moment with emotion. She did not say it's fine the way she used to, just to make everyone comfortable. She said, yes, you should have, but I am dealing with it. That was all. She did not slam the door. But she did not pretend the wound had not happened either. Simbiso took longer. It was almost 6 months before she reached out. When she did, it was through a voice note. Simbiso never liked phone calls, always said she thought better when she was not being listened to in real time. The voice note was 4 minutes long. Rutendo played it twice. Simbiso talked about growing up, about watching Rutendo iron their uniforms at 5 in the morning, about the time Rutendo gave up her own birthday money to pay for Simbiso's exam fees and told her it was fine, that she had not wanted anything anyway. About the moment she graduated from nursing school and looked into the crowd and saw Rutendo's face, the only face that had made her feel like she had truly done something. She said, I knew everything you did. I always knew, I just did not know how to hold it, so I buried it. And when you needed me, I pushed it further down because facing it meant facing how much I owed you, and that felt too big. She said, that was cowardice, and I am sorry. Rutendo sat with that voice note for a long time. She did not call back immediately, but she saved the message. And one evening she played it again and felt something old and painful inside her chest loosen, not disappear, just loosen. Like a knot that had been there so long it had started to feel like part of her body. Chipo never called. Not yet. Maybe not ever. And Rutendo made peace slowly, imperfectly, with the fact that not every person who hurts you will come back and explain themselves. Some people say the wrong thing and disappear into their own shame. And you have to decide whether you will let their absence keep destroying you. Rutendo decided she would not.
And this is the part many people don't talk about. Healing without closure.
By the time this story reaches its end, Rutendo has not fixed everything. Her business is still small. She still wakes up early. She still works hard. But she is doing something she has not done since she was 17 years old. She is living for herself. She finished her first year of classes and passed with the highest mark in business management. Vimbai, the serious lecturer with the fast voice, pulled her aside one day and said, you are the kind of person this program needs more of. Have you thought about going further? She has thought about it. She is still thinking. She still sees Umbuya's Vogo in the evening sometimes. They drink tea and say whatever is on their minds. It is one of Rutendo's favorite things now, that quiet hour, that honest company. She has started to understand something that nobody told her when she was 17, standing at the edge of her own future and choosing to walk away from it. Sacrifice is not love if it asks you to disappear. You can give, you can be generous, you can carry people you love through hard seasons. But you must never disappear so completely that when the hard season ends, you look around and realize you do not exist anymore. She was so focused on what her siblings needed that she forgot to ask what Rutendo needed. That is the part she regrets most. Not that she helped them, she will do that again, but that she helped them while slowly erasing herself. That she made her own dreams so small, so quiet, that even she forgot they were there. If I could tell you only one thing from this story, it would be this. The people you love should never cost you yourself. And if they do, if the price of your love is your own life, then something has gone very wrong. Not because you are weak, but because love was never supposed to work that way. Rutendo is learning that now. At 34, on a cold floor in Gweru, in an evening class full of 20-year-olds, in a cup of tea shared with a neighbor who showed up and stayed. She is learning. And slowly, quietly, in the way that real things grow, she is coming back. That is real. And I hope you felt it. If this story touched you, please like and share it. You never know who needs to hear it right now. Subscribe to Best Tales of Africa and turn on your notification bell so you never miss a story like this one. I read your comments, every single one. You are not just viewers to me, you are the reason these stories get told. This is not just a page, this is Best Tales of Africa, and you are part of this family.
And if you are listening to this right now and it feels like your story, this is your sign to pause and ask yourself where you went missing.